everyone, thanks for joining me today on my channel. I'm sharing a card today using some new stamps from a UK company called Chunky Monkey Crafts, and I'm really excited to be on the design team for that. I already posted a picture on Instagram with this picture of me using an interactive piece to use the stamps on the back of a card. So I've cut a card base and also an insert piece, which is the piece where you would write your message or put your sentiment on. I'm lining those up together so that I know where I can use my die piece to cut the hole in the back, which is from Mama Elephant Union Square die set. I'll link that below. But I've just used some post-it tape to help me sort of line things up and work out where I'm going to put that die before I run it through my die cut machine, because I need everything to sort of line up so that the flap and the stamp all line up together, because they're two separate pieces. So I'm using a pencil just to mark that on the card base, and then I'm going to take a piece of post-it note tape and just to help me position that die before I run it through the die cut machine. And this die cuts three sides with some really nice stitching detail as well, so I really like this die. It makes some really nice tags. So I'm going to cut that with my die cutting machine, and then once that's done I'm going to remove that. I struggle really to get that post-it tape off, it's really sticky. So you should definitely check out these stamps because they're really, really good for the back of your cards. It's something a little bit different. I haven't seen anything like this before. And you can find them on Etsy. I'll leave all the links at the end and in the description box below. So what I decided to do is use some post-it tape to help me line up the card base and that insert panel, so that I know where it's kind of sort of safe to stamp my sentiment. Otherwise, because you can't really lift the flap, otherwise it kind of ruins the effect. You don't want it to sort of look used before you give it to your recipient. So you have to kind of leave that flush and not lift the flap, so you can't stamp the sentiment after you've sort of glued it all together. So I know that this white piece, exposed piece, is where I'm going to be able to stamp my sentiment. So I take my Versafine Onyx black ink and I'm taking one of the sentiments from the set and I'm going to stamp that down. There we go. Now I'm using my ATG because this needs to be adhered to my card base. I'm not a big fan of the ATG. It just never seems to work for me, but I'm out of tape, so I need to use it. I'm using my Lilac Posies Memento ink just to give a little bit of colour to that stamp. And now I am going to put everything together. Now fingers crossed, if I've lined it all up properly, it should fit perfectly into that little hole or space where I've cut that flap. So I'm just trying to line it up, and I think it all looked fine. Just a little bit of glue in the way. So that piece you can see there is where you put sentiment, and this is the back. And then I stick on one of my stickers. And off camera I did put a little lift here stamp. People know to lift. And it just adds a nice little finishing touch to your cards. And there's lots of different sentiments you could use. Not all of them fit in this hole, but there's, I've got some other ideas coming up. So check back next week and I'll be showing another card. Thanks for watching. Bye.